everyone, in this video I'm going to show how I did this orangutan drawing in pastels. Now this video is going to have lots of tips on how to draw skin, but also how to draw hair that is over skin. So this would also apply for drawing facial hair of human portraits, any areas where the hair maybe is draped over a section of the forehead. The way that we need to layer the pastels makes a very big difference to how that process can be simplified and achieve more realism. So one quick tip about drawing eyes that I do just want to mention is if the head position is more of a side profile like this, then the eye shape is going to vary. It's not going to be true circular shapes. I want to have the curve to the pencil strokes, but I do want to make sure that I have captured the way that it is glancing in a specific direction. And the shape and size of the eyes here is going to have a very big impact on that. The other aspect here is the shading. If there is more of a one-sided light source, one eye is potentially going to be very dark compared to the other. Maybe a highlight is more toned down. These changes here can add a huge level of realism and make the eyes more of that three-dimensional sphere shape. So when it comes to drawing skin, there are a couple of things that I like to do first that I find simplify the process. The first is I want to look at my reference photo. I want to focus on that area but not zooming in too much to the image. That's really important because we're more likely to want to draw in too much detail too soon if we do that. So glancing at that reference photo, I want to map in first of all any areas of maybe a wrinkle or a crease that has a bright highlight and a dark shadow. I can then map those in first so I know that I've got something accurate that I can refer back to. One of my biggest tips though, when working with the darker colours, is I want to go with something that might be a little bit more cautious first of all. So I don't want to use the darkest pencil that I know I'm going to use later on that area of the skin. The only reason being here is when I work with my lighter pencils at the moment, I don't want that to mix in with the darker colour and give me a muddier look to the pastels. That can be something that's hard to fix and happen very quickly. So I'm cautious not to work with too much of a bold foundation. I will be more cautious and I'll work typically more light to dark. So my other tip when drawing realistic skin is try to ignore all of the details that we see in the top layers of the reference photo. So this would be things such as the pores in the skin, little hairs that might be overlapping, the eyelashes for example, on the eyelid area around the eye of this orangutan are quite long. So if I start to draw those in now and the skin underneath isn't finished, then I'm going to have to work around those lines. If the pastel pencils that I'm using for the skin pick up some of the darker colour for the eyelashes, that will mix in with the skin and then I'll have those muddy layers and issues associated with that. So anything that looks like it's on top or overlapping, I will completely ignore. My focus at the moment is just to get the skin, the values and the colour of the skin correct. The details can be added later. Pastels are an incredibly versatile medium and we can layer light over dark, dark over light. So we've got that option. We can work between these layers, but I do like to make sure that I've got the skin in place first. So this is the same concept that I used when working on the face. You'll see here though that I am working with a little bit more of a darker colour for the top. Now the way that I decide my colours, I don't ever worry about the exact colour because with pastels I layer lots of colours in order to create the colour that I see in my reference photo. And primarily the initial consideration is how light or dark should that colour be and whether or not that colour is warm or cool. Now this is something that I do cover thoroughly in the real-time versions of these tutorials, which if they are of interest, I'll link in the description below. And when I'm building in this colour here, this is not anything like what the end result will resemble. So this is something that we really do need to remember. It's never about using one perfect colour. We can build these colours in layers and we can really just work with many layers as long as we're using the right paper. Now my paper of choice is Pastelmat by Clairefontaine, and by working with the pastel pencils here from start to finish, I do find that I have more control on what colour goes where. You can of course use pan pastels for a base foundation, but because those colours can mix together more easily, that can then result in the incorrect colour being formed, those muddy layers from happening. So that's one of the reasons why my preferred preference is to use pastel pencils for the subject from start to finish. Now once I've got this very first stage in, now my second stage is where I'm refining that. I wouldn't ever jump into my details from the very first base layer. I usually want to then enhance that a little bit more. The way that I'm building up my colour here, it is established in stages as I've just mentioned. I knew that there was a lighter yellow highlight on the left side of the face, and I've started with that colour because of that. I can then darken that up later. By working with this approach, I'm being more cautious, but I know then that I've got those lighter, more vibrant colours established right away. This gives a little bit more breathing space with the layering process. So earlier on in the video, I mentioned about how we can add skin texture and details on top later on. Now, although this area is not being the finer details such as the hair, this is the next stage where I am enhancing the skin texture. Once I'm happy with this process and how I'm using the pencil, I can define that with each layer that I add. But I still want to make sure that I've got the right degree of softness first. Once I'm happy with that, then I can move on. With those considerations that I've mentioned about the base foundation, I repeated that process for the nose and mouth area. You can see that I've indicated at those main highlights, and now I'm going to start to adjust the colour of the skin and the values. So when I wanted to have this little bit of mid-tone in the centre, that's going to help create more of a shaping and curve structure of the skull shape. The way that the lights and the darks hit the surface of the skin are not random. So you can see that there is a brighter highlight directly below the nose, and that's where that structure curves out towards the camera. We're going to have more shading toward the inner part of the nostril where the light can't reach. So all of these placements of the main highlights and shadows, they do need to be in the right place. This is going to help determine the accurate structure of that specific animal. This is exactly the same process that I use for any subject that I draw. It is crucial that we've got that highlight and shadow correct, because it can actually make it look like the drawing perspective is wrong. Now, in most cases where we feel we've made an error, we immediately, most of the time, assume that maybe the eye shape isn't right, the nose isn't in the right place. But one thing that can impact that is whether or not the highlights and shadows around it are incorrect. If they're not in the right place, then that can make the nose look like it's not in the right place. So these things need to be really assessed individually to make sure that each one of those is correct. And with all those considerations in mind, although here the colour of the skin has varied slightly, the way that the highlights are, it's covering a bit more of a larger area over the nose compared to areas around the eyes. But I've used a similar set of steps. So I focused on my base foundation. I've made sure that is exactly where it needs to be before I start to define a little bit more of the skin texture. I'm doing that phase before I then start working on the top brighter details. So around the nose, I worked with a white Carbothello for the smaller pores in the skin, those little dotted highlights. And then I've still yet not added the hair that is going to be on the side of the face, partly overlapping the top lip. These individual hairs, they are the very last stage, and I want to be making sure that everything prior to that is correct. And as I started to add these details here to the forehead area, you can now see why it was so important that the layers of skin were established and finished before those hairs were added. Same here when working on the eyelashes. I don't want to have pencil strokes that are too thick, so I'm not working with a particularly sharp pencil, but I am using light pressure. You'll also see that I'm not holding it directly close to the lead of the pencil. I'm about an inch away. Now, if I'm creating a longer line, then I will hold it much further away yet again. This is going to vary, but it is a big part of the pencil technique. The pencil technique is something that I really do cover thoroughly in my real-time step-by-step versions of these tutorials. As I say, if they are of interest, I will link the information to that in the description below. One other aspect when building in the hair that's over the top layers of the skin is I do work more cautiously. So I've used some brown pencils, some orange pencils first, before I jumped into the darker pencils such as this black. That really is a way that I can simplify the process and mentally make it a bit easier for me to tackle. I don't ever want to feel overwhelmed with the layer that I'm working on. Usually if that happens, it's because too much is trying to be absorbed in that reference photo at once. When we look at a reference photo and consider the skin, the fur, the hair, the eyelashes, the details, everything there starts to get very overwhelming. But up to this point, I've only focused on one stage at a time. So that's the process here that I will then continue to use for the orange hair on the side of the face. With those steps in mind, you can see that I focused on creating my base foundation. This is a much darker base foundation because the light source is not able to hit this side of the face. So I used a lot more of the black to make sure that that base layer was as dark as it needed to be. Once I'm now starting to hint at that texture, I'm not jumping into my brightest highlights first, and I'm using a pencil that's only just visible. This helps to build in softness, which is crucial when drawing fur or hair. And I want to be making sure here that I'm following the changes in the hair direction, the thickness of my pencil strokes, and that primarily that I'm building up those values in stages. I also like to work in smaller sections, but when the hair is longer, it therefore moves, it overlaps, it sits on other areas that are covering more of a larger section. I will typically then open up that area and to look at more of a wider space in that reference photo. If I work on this top corner, get that established, I can then work on the lower corner rather than doing 1 square inch at a time. I do find that working on larger areas with longer hair does help to simplify that process even more, as long as we're keeping to 1 layer at a time method. One of my biggest tips when drawing fur that is more of a vibrant colour, such as this orange, is to start with the lighter vibrant colour first. I know I've mentioned that previously in areas where we've worked on the skin, but this can really help to capture that vibrant colour saturation with animals that have more of that iconic colour saturation. And with each area where the hair is longer, if it's overlapping another section of the drawing and pushes that other part further back, then it's easier to draw what's underneath it first. So an example is the shoulder area, that front leg behind where the chin hairs are I'm currently adding. I worked on that section first, getting those lighter oranges in before I used these darker pencils to put the chin hairs in. If I'd have drawn the chin hairs first and then tried to work on the lower part of that chest and body, then those pencil strokes are going to get blended and affect the colour of that lighter orange. So it's always important to make sure that when looking at the reference photo, if we notice that something is underneath a previous layer, to work on that area first. It can really help, yet again, to simplify that drawing process. By working with this kind of layering approach, every layer that we add, it's building up that final contrast, so that when we get to these end stages, this is where an addition of a lighter layer, just pushing that contrast even further, can take the art to the next level. As I'm starting to use these lighter purples, the way that this lighting is capturing the very edges of this fur, you can see that it adds a lot more shape and form to the portrait. The values here, in my opinion, are so much more important than the exact colour. It doesn't matter what lighter purple I would have used, as long as I'm making sure the value is correct. So in a moment I'm going to use an even lighter purple, but those pencil strokes wouldn't have looked as soft if I hadn't have used the Derwent Violet Oxide first. So when I now came in with this Caran d'Ache Light Ultramarine Violet, they are backing up that lighter purple of the Violet Oxide, and that's because they are two different shades. It's not that they were both the exact colour purple that I needed for that layer. It was that I worked with a subtle layer first, so something that was just a little bit darker than this current lighter purple. I've then enhanced that value even more by using a lighter purple back over the top. But that layer of subtlety, the softness of the Violet Oxide, is crucial for maintaining the level of realism that I want here. And then, as I've mentioned, The last layer for me is the hairs that are sitting on the very top. This would also include the whiskers if the subject had those. They overlap everything else, and I want to make sure that they are the very last thing to go on the portrait. So I do hope this video has been useful. If it was, I'd be very grateful if you could give it a like and a thumbs up. It makes a huge difference to my channel. I do also upload a couple of videos to YouTube every week, so if you would like to get notified of that content, then don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell button. If you have any art related questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below. I'm always happy to help if I can. And if you would like to draw along to the real-time version of this orangutan or any of my other step-by-step lessons, I will put the information to that in the description below. If you have any questions about those in-depth lessons, pop them in the comments as well. I'm always happy to answer any questions relating to that. And I'm going to be uploading another video next week. But as always, thank you so much for watching.